You are the royal physician in Madrid. The year is 1834. King Ferdinand VII is dead, yet the heavy doors of his private chamber creak open and the Queen Regent Maria Cristina stands there, eyes red but voice like steel, ordering you to do something so unnatural that your blood freezes. Cut away and preserve the grotesque, misshapen, 14-inch monstrosity that even in death bulges obscenely beneath the silk sheets, the deformed organ that defined a tyrant more than any crown or decree ever could. Welcome to Empress Secrets, the only place brave enough to rip the velvet curtains off royalty's darkest shame. If you're ready to stare into the abyss of history that Spain tried to bury for 200 years, smash that like button right now, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's walk straight into hell together. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one because our shared hunger for the forbidden truth connects us across centuries. Ferdinand was born cursed, not by witches but by centuries of incest that turned the proud Spanish bloodline into poison. Habsburgs married nieces, Bourbons married cousins, uncles took nieces to the altar, and by the time Ferdinand arrived on October 14, 1784, at El Escorial to first cousin parents Charles IV and Maria Luisa of Parma, the genetic dice were loaded with snake eyes. As a child the signs were already there. Tailors needed extra yards of fabric for his breeches, and wet nurses whispered when they changed his diapers. By adolescence the truth was undeniable. The prince carried between his legs a twisted, swollen, elephantine deformity that swung like a club when he walked. One physician who examined him at 16 wrote in a journal later destroyed by fire, "The royal member in repose exceeds 10 inches, narrow at the root like a thumb, then ballooning to the thickness of a man's forearm, ending in a purple glands the size of an orange. It curves sharply left and is covered in hard, unexplained growths. Normal marital relations will tear any woman apart." Another doctor, drunk on French wine, told an ambassador it looked like a deformed donkey's pride grafted onto a boy. This was not a gift of virility, it was a sentence of shame. In a world that worshipped the perfect proportions of Greek statues, Ferdinand's body screamed monster, and the boy felt every stare, every stifled laugh, every averted eye. Servants who accidentally saw him naked vanished from court the same day. One page boy who giggled was flogged until his back was raw and his family exiled to the Philippines. The message was clear. The prince's shame was sacred, and anyone who witnessed it paid in blood. His childhood was already a nightmare of neglect. His father Charles IV preferred hunting to governing. His mother paraded her lover Manuel Godo through the palace like a peacock, while Ferdinand watched, seething. Humiliation layered upon humiliation until the deformed body and the broken soul fed each other in an endless spiral of rage. By 18, he was already cruel, already paranoid, already convinced the world laughed at him behind every tapestry. When it came time to marry, the palace physicians were forced to invent solutions no royal house had ever needed. They crafted padded leather cushions with strategic holes, silk slings to hold the monstrous weight, metal dilators coated in numbing ointments, gallons of olive oil infused with poppy, and leather straps to keep a bride from thrashing away in terror. The royal bedchamber became half torture chamber, half medical laboratory. In 1802 his first bride arrived, his cousin Maria Antonia of Naples, 19, bright-eyed, raised on romantic poems and convent whispers. She believed she was marrying El Decido, the desired one. The wedding was golden, the fireworks lit up Madrid, and then came the wedding night. The screams were so loud they echoed down marble corridors and guards outside the door crossed themselves. Maria Antonia backed into a corner shrieking, "Monster! Monster!" At the sight of the purple, veined, fist-thick horror swaying toward her. Doctors were summoned in the middle of the night, cushions arranged, opium forced down her throat until her eyes rolled white, and still she bled so much the sheets looked like a battlefield. From that night on intimacy was scheduled like surgery. She was drugged just enough to stay conscious but not feel everything, strapped down for optimal angle, oiled, stretched, and invaded while Ferdinand grunted above her like a man trying to hammer a square peg into a screaming hole. Months turned to years, no pregnancy, only bruises, only terror. Ferdinand became convinced her disgust was blocking conception. He brought in mystics who burned incense and chanted over their joined bodies, astrologers who only allowed intercourse when Saturn aligned with Mars, even a Chinese wise man, who made them attempt impossible positions from forbidden scrolls while bells rang and gongs crashed. Miraculously, she conceived twice. Twice she miscarried in rivers of blood, the second time almost dying on the birthing stool while Ferdinand accused the midwives of sabotage. By 1807, Maria Antonia was a ghost, laudanum 3 times a day, hollow eyes, hands that shook so badly she couldn't hold a teacup. She died officially of fever, unofficially of a broken body and soul. Ferdinand didn't mourn. He raged that she had poisoned herself to deny him an heir, had her ladies-in-waiting tortured for information, and the poor apothecary who supplied her laudanum was found floating in the manzanares with his tongue cut out. If you're still here breathing through your mouth in shock, pause for a second and smash that like button for the algorithm gods, so this forbidden story reaches more truth seekers. Hit subscribe and the bell because Empress Secrets is the only channel that refuses to let royalty hide their nightmares. Tell me in the comments, could you survive even one night as Ferdinand's bride? Wife number 2, Maria Isabel of Portugal, arrived in 1816, another cousin, another lamb to the slaughter. She had been warned gently that the king had special requirements, but nothing prepared her for the reality. Wedding night, same screams, same blood-soaked sheets carried out at dawn, same broken furniture. After that she stopped screaming and started flinching. Every footstep in the corridor made her tremble. She lost weight until her collarbones looked like knife edges, her eyes grew huge in a skeletal face, and palace servants whispered that the queen saw shadows following her. Ferdinand interpreted her terror as mockery and tightened the noose. Letters opened, food tasted by 3 separate servants who had to wait an hour to prove no poison. Her rooms searched daily for secret notes. Doctors from Germany, France, even a circus strongman who claimed experience with unusual anatomies, were invited to the royal bedchamber to measure, sketch and debate the king's deformity, while Maria Isabel lay drugged behind a silk screen. One French physician called it le monstrous membre d'Espagne, and published anonymous drawings that circulated in underground medical circles for decades. She lasted 2 years before dying of what the court called nervous exhaustion, and what we would today recognize as catastrophic PTSD and slow starvation. Ferdinand ordered 3 autopsies looking for poison, kept her death mask on his bedside table, and within weeks was shopping for wife number 3. Maria Josepha of Saxony was the only one who walked in with eyes wide open. Her bankrupt family sold her to Spain like livestock, but she came armed, her own physician, her own dilators, her own laudanum, and a leather-bound journal where she recorded every encounter like a scientist logging experiments. Date, duration, angle attempted, amount of bleeding, level of consciousness. Cold, clinical, horrifying. Ferdinand hated it. Her calm detachment made him feel like a specimen under glass, and his paranoia exploded. He accused her of spying for Saxony, confiscated her journals, bugged her confessional. Yet in a cruel twist of fate, in 1829 she actually conceived. The court held its breath. Ferdinand became a maniac. Guards at her door day and night, food blessed by 3 separate priests, astrologers consulted hourly. At 7 months the placenta tore. Ferdinand refused normal doctors and brought in alchemists instead. On May 18, 1829, she went into early labor while the king stood over the bed screaming that everyone was trying to murder his heir. A daughter was born alive but died within hours. Maria Josepha lingered 3 weeks in agony before childbed fever took her. Ferdinand refused to bury them until the corpses began to rot and the stench forced his hand. He kept their death masks beside the first 2. His bedroom looked like a mausoleum of failed wombs. By now Spain was crumbling, colonies declaring independence, treasury empty, people starving, but Ferdinand only cared about one thing, an heir that shared his blood. So in 1829 his ministers did the unthinkable. They found Maria Christina of the 2 Sicilies, another cousin, already 4 months pregnant by a palace guardsman, and married her to the king in secret. Everyone knew the child wasn't his, but Ferdinand didn't care. He would claim it anyway. In 1830 little Isabella was born and declared heir. The lie held Spain together, but it destroyed what was left of Ferdinand's mind. He installed peepholes in the walls to watch Maria Christina nurse, bathe, pray. Every servant who smiled at her was interrogated. He tasted her food himself, then made tasters wait an hour. He hired artists to paint composite portraits of every possible lover superimposed over baby Isabella's face. Nights he would rock the child and sob, whispering, "Are you mine? Tell me you're mine." His final years were pure madness. He stopped eating, skin turned grey, speech became garbled accusations. On September 29, 1833, he died screaming that the doctors were poisoning him. And in the hush after death, the royal physicians did what Maria Christina ordered. They severed the monstrous, scarred 14-inch organ that had terrorized 4 wives and an entire nation, measured it one last time, preserved it in alcohol and wax, and smuggled it to a secret vault in the Vatican where it remains to this day. hidden behind locks and papal seals because some truths are too grotesque even for history books. That beautiful Truth Seekers of Empress Secrets is the real story of Ferdinand VII. Not a king, but a walking wound who wore his deformity like a crown and made an entire nation bleed for it. If this video shook you to your core, do me a favor. Smash that like button until it breaks, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, share this with every history lover you know, and comment below the craziest royal secret you want me to uncover next. This is Empress Secrets, where crowns hide monsters and we refuse to look away. I'll see you in the next forbidden truth. Stay curious, stay brave, and never let them bury the past again.